This report, our next report, takes a look at the history of the America-Pakistan relationship, and it explains why at a certain level both countries need each other.
Pakistan's relationship with the United States was forged by the Cold War. Pakistan was ruled for a large part of its independent existence by the military. American generals and their military-industrial complex found it easier to deal with the Pakistani military rulers. In contrast, India pursued a different trajectory. After the end of the British colonial rule, India founded the non-aligned movement. It did not become a camp follower of either bloc. But Pakistan became deeply entrenched in U.S. policies in the region and beyond. It became a member of two military alliances led by the U.S. and its allies, the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization and the Central Treaty Organization. (1971) was a watershed moment for multiple reasons. The crisis in what was then known as East Pakistan was exploding. The US used Pakistan in its bid to open a channel of communication with China. India and the Soviet Union signed a treaty of peace and friendship. And towards the end of the year, India intervened in East Pakistan and liberated Bangladesh. The US indulged in gunboat diplomacy by sending the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Enterprise into the Bay of Bengal. According to a former US National Security Advisor, Henry Kissinger, Pakistan helped the US to reach out to China. In an interview to the Atlantic magazine, Kissinger says that by the time the Bangladeshi crisis began in March 1971, the US had conducted a number of highly secret exchanges with China and were on the verge of a breakthrough. These exchanges were conducted through Pakistan, which emerged as the interlocutor most acceptable to Beijing and Washington. The Bangladesh crisis, in its essence, was an attempt of the Bengali part of Pakistan to achieve independence. Pakistan resisted with extreme violence and gross human rights violations. To condemn these violations publicly would have destroyed the Pakistani channel, which would be needed for months to complete the opening to China, which indeed was launched from Pakistan. Kissinger, who was US President Richard Nixon's national security advisor at the time, made a secret trip to Beijing in July 1971. He flew to Beijing from Pakistan. His meetings in Beijing paved the way for Nixon's historic visit to China in February 1972.
An invitation to President Nixon to visit China.
Pakistan would prove useful for the US a second time in Washington's attempts to oust the Soviets from Afghanistan. Pakistan was the launchpad for hundreds of mujahideen who fought against the Soviet forces in Afghanistan. The US made Pakistan a major non-NATO ally in 2002. It allowed Washington to pump more financial aid to Islamabad, some of which was used by Pakistan to carry out terror attacks in India. Islamabad's doublespeak on terror continued as it engaged the Taliban and other terror groups as an instrument of state policy, targeting India and Afghanistan alike. The global terrorist Hafiz Saeed was the mastermind of the 2008 terror attacks in Mumbai. In fact, the Quetta Shura operated out of Pakistan. Pakistan harbored Osama bin Laden too. He was traced to the garrison town of Abbottabad near Islamabad and eventually killed by the US in 2011. In the last few years, Pakistan has again emerged as an interlocutor in US Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad's talks with the Taliban in Qatar. 7 rounds of talks have concluded so far. The US...
And these are live images of the Pakistani Prime Minister being received by Donald Trump at the White House, waving at the press present there. Imran Khan is going to have talks with the U.S. President. I believe that was Shah Mahmood Qureshi walking in with him. Remember, on this visit, he's been accompanied by the Army Chief and the ISI Chief, which is unprecedented in the history of U.S. Pakistan relations, and very, very rare for such bilateral diplomatic working visits. The Army Chief of a country hardly ever accompanies a Prime Minister, but Pakistan is a different case altogether. And now the Army Chief is with the PM. There you see Donald Trump shaking the hand of Imran Khan, exchanging pleasantries, I'm assuming. I've not had the time to check his tweets, which may shed some light on what he's thinking before he heads into this meeting with Imran Khan. A whole host of issues to be discussed. Afghanistan most certainly is going to figure in those talks.